全てはこの手の中にある
This would most definitely be the last post I make that solely talks about Serena, as I think I've done it enough already. And if people can't understand how I feel about her after about 5 different posts of me explaining it, then nothing will make them understand. I want you all to know that, for what it's worth, I do not hate Serena. Hate is a strong word, and it takes a lot to make me legit say I hate something. See, I hate spiders because they're one of my biggest fears. They're gross, they're scary, and they're creepy. I hate sauerkraut because I don't like its taste. I think it tastes disgusting. See? When I say I hate something, normally it's not a person, unless they're just completely unlikable in every regard. Whether said person is real or fictional, I don't think it's fair to say you hate them unless they do something awful. Serena's never done anything awful, she's just not that great as a character. So no, I do not hate her, but I can definitely say I do not like her. I didn't dislike her from the time of her debut, however, seeing as how when I first saw her, I thought she had potential. But then that potential, in my eyes, was immediately flushed down the toilet. If you like Serena, I'm not going to stop you from liking her. We all have our preferences, and I would never try to force anyone to feel the way I do. Even if a lot of her worshippers, fans, feel the need to try and make you like her. I'm not going to say any names, but if you're watching this, you should know who you are. Unless you're just that stubborn. I know you're all probably extremely tired of me talking about her, but I wanted to get this off my chest. Then after this, I won't bring her up anymore. As an individual, at least. I'm just going to list off some reasons for why I don't like her. I looked, on Bulbapedia to find some things to back me up, and I'll try to be as accurate as possible. Please remember, though, that my memory isn't the greatest, and I really don't want to go back and watch all the episodes, which is why I'm using Bulbapedia. However true it may be. Now, let's just get on with it, so we can hurry and be done, okay? Reason 1. I don't like how slow she is. What I mean by this is, she took too long to do anything. Yes, I know normal people like to go at their own pace, but it was actually kind of frustrating seeing as how pretty much everything she did took up too much time and she's extremely slow. An example of Serena taking a long time was the fact that it took her 5 episodes to meet up with Ash, and then another 2 episodes to actually officially join his party. Why this was so hard for her, the writers, to decide on, I don't know. If her crush is the reason, it's not a very good reason. I mean, it's not impossible to be around your crush, just saying. More examples being it took her 3 episodes to receive her first Pokemon, even though she only got it to find Ash in the first place. It took her 47 episodes to decide on what to do for her travels, cause, you know, she can't just walk around admiring Ash for her entire journey. And it took her 43 episodes to catch her second Pokemon. I thought Iris took a long time, 24 episodes, but this was pushing it. One could argue this makes Serena realistic, the fact that she takes forever to do anything, but I think that just makes her boring. In an anime like this, nobody wants to see a main character sitting there doing nothing for over 47 episodes. They're Misty, apparently. It makes it a bit difficult to get attached to said character if they are literally just standing there not doing anything. She was like a cardboard cutout following Ash around until episode 47, where she finally decided she can't just blindly follow him, and she should find something else to do. I'm not gonna say it took her too long to develop as a character, seeing as how I don't remember much difference in her other than her hair and clothes. I mean, you think what you want about her character development, cause I didn't see it. If it was there, it took 60 episodes to happen, cause apparently when she cut her hair, she developed as a character. So, take that how you will. She was an extremely late bloomer, and that could be frustrating to some people. Just saying that if she acted exactly like this in any other shonen anime, she'd be severely disliked. You know, thinking of maybe Orihime or Sakura, for example. So, I don't know why she gets a pass, because she's a Pokemon character instead of, say, a Naruto or Bleach character. Reason 2. A lot of things are handed to her. I mean, she doesn't seem to try very hard to prove herself or get things done, except maybe once. We're shown at the beginning of the series that she hates Rhyhorn racing because she thinks it's too hard and she sucks at it, and she doesn't like racing on anything in general. But in episode 53, called A Race for Home, she somehow gets extremely good at racing because the plot calls for it. I looked up an article on how long it takes to learn how to ride a horse. The article said, you can go online to find a website that promises to teach you to ride in 4 days. That is, if you're an adult and if you spend from 9 a.m. to 5 to 6 p.m. in the saddle for those 4 days on the trainer's well-trained horses. After 40 hours, an average adult should be able to ride a reliable horse on a trail. They might not be able to walk the day after, but they will be able to ride a horse. Seriously, can you imagine anyone who has never ridden putting in about 10 hours a day on a horse for 4 days in a row? The pain of it. The length of time it takes to learn to ride boils down to who you are, what you want to do, and how much time you're willing to invest. Learning to ride a quiet horse on trails can be achieved in 6 months. While a horse and a Rhyhorn clearly aren't the same, the concept of learning how to ride a living creature still applies. Serena's not an adult, so we can take that out. Serena didn't seem very dedicated or invested to learning how to ride them either, so we can take that out as well. She didn't seem to be in any pain the next day from riding it, and she was walking just fine. And I doubt her mom actually forced her to ride the damn thing every single hour of every single day, so how could she have possibly learned how to perfectly ride one in just 1 day? She was even teaching others how to ride them like she was an expert. Anyway, given the way her mom acted, and the fact that she saw her practicing for a showcase in secret, I'm pretty sure her mom would have still let her do what she wanted, even if she lost the race. And she was only testing her. Serena probably didn't even need to win for her mom to give in and let her do showcases, so why? And back onto this subject. You can't just up and magically learn the ability to ride on an animal in 1 day. We are clearly shown earlier on she's not good at it, and then she gets good at it, just like that. And I'm not even really talking about when she raced her mom on a Skeeto. At least there she fell off and struggled a little. No, I'm talking about when she jumped on a Rhyhorn and chased Team Rocket, and she just suddenly got good at controlling the thing. Like her determination to catch them was really all she needed. She also magically knew how to ride one in the Diancie movie, which I nearly forgot to mention. Sometimes I hate anime logic. Another reason I think she hardly tries but gets stuff handed to her is the fact that I only remember seeing her practice for her showcases 1 time, but she won more times than I expected her to, because her performances weren't really varied. I mean, a lot of times they were the exact same, and she won anyway. You know, her Pokemon would dance a little, Pancham would use Stone Edge, Braixen would use Flamethrower, yada yada yada. Of course, her level of winning wasn't as bad as May's back in Hoenn. May really had her wins handed to her on a silver platter. May's contest wins were mostly cheap hacks and Deus Ex Machina tripe, winning 13 out of 15 contests after spanning moves like crazy. I liked May as a character, but I didn't like her contest at all. So I can give Serena that, at least. I also find it kind of funny how her Sylveon ended up being a girl, despite the chances of that happening being extremely slim. Can't tell me she just got lucky with receiving a female Sylveon. Reason 3, she's too similar to May, and that isn't really a good thing. I already mentioned in Reason 2 that Serena and May both pretty much had things handed to them without hardly trying. Of course, I also mentioned it was worse with May, but it still happened with them both. May and Serena are very, very similar to each other in more ways than that, though, making me feel like the writers originally planned on bringing May back, but instead decided to just put all of May's progression into another character. I mean, isn't it awfully convenient how Omega Ruby and Alpha Sapphire came out a year after the XY games came out? They might have even been in production roughly around the same time. I'm just saying these games were pretty close together, and they usually aren't. They brought May back into the picture around the time Serena was having the spotlight, is all I'm saying. I can just say that I think May was inspiration for Serena, at least. Let me compare them, though. Here are a list of reasons. Neither May or Serena had a goal at the start of the series, and had no clue what they were going to do on their journeys. Neither of them really liked Pokemon at first. May and Serena both pretty much looked up to Ash as like a teacher, though May learned to battle hard like him, while Serena technically used him as a way to get stuff done. Both of them took a while to get into battling, though Serena hardly ever battles and May learned to do it faster anyway. They both discovered some sort of performing and made it their goals, contests and showcases. Both May and Serena chose the fire starter, and it evolved to its middle form for the majority of its run. I didn't even realize this till now. Both May and Serena had an Eevee that eventually evolved into one of the Eons, Glaceon for May and Sylveon for Serena. And both May and Serena act as an older sister to the younger kid character on the cast, May with Max and Serena with Bonnie. I think these two were too similar for it to have been a mere coincidence. Back when Iris was on the show, it actually made me a little upset how similar she was to Misty, for reasons. And while May and Serena being similar wasn't as cringeworthy for me, barely, it did often feel like May got reincarnated into her, like the writers didn't know what else to do. Of course, perhaps it's just a throwback to May? This wasn't one of the bigger complaints I had with Serena's character, though. It was just something I noticed along the way. Serena wasn't unique, seeing as how she's almost exactly like May, so I don't know where her fans get the idea that she's the most original character the series has had before. Also, please don't think I'm hating on May. May is actually my second favorite girl. Reason 4, her character archetype. I've mentioned this several times, but Serena is a female stereotype. I was never a big fan of the girliest character on any show or series. In Totally Spies, Clover was my least favorite. In Winx Club, Stella was my least favorite. In My Little Pony, Friendship is Magic, Rarity was my least favorite for a while. And I like Princess Daisy more than Princess Peach. It's not that these characters are necessarily bad because they're the most girly, it's just that the super frilly girly type characters have never been my favorites, with the exception of Dawn and Bubbles from the Powerpuff Girls, but she's my second favorite anyway after Blossom. Hell, I guess I didn't really expect Dawn to be my favorite either, considering she was girly, but it turns out that she wasn't nearly on the same level of it that Serena was on. And honestly, it felt more like a phase that she grew out of as the series progressed. She knew when she had to be tough, and she wasn't afraid to be rough or get dirty. With Serena, I saw the opposite. I even looked up female stereotypes on Google to prove this, and I found this here. Serena fits about 12 out of those 18. I may have missed a few, though. While that isn't too bad, she'd still end up passing the stereotype test if she took one. She is super nice, hates getting dirty, likes to dress up, likes makeup, bakes, only wears skirts, dresses, she depends on others a lot, is very indecisive, takes forever to do stuff, people like to say women take forever to do anything, and she's sensitive, etc., etc. And while I know being girly doesn't automatically make a character or a person bad, as females do not have to be a tomboy all the time to be likable, there's a difference between making a female character girly while still being strong, or at least having a likable or distinguishable personality, and making a female character girly and that's it. That's all they got going for them. And aside from Serena's crush on Ash, all she really has going for her is that she's a girly girl. And this is one reason I don't really like showcases. It feels like they took the concept of contest and just made it girls only for some reason. It's almost like they're saying boys can't perform and only girls should be allowed to do such a thing. And most of the events and showcases were just promoting things girls should like, once again. They're beauty pageants that, from what I recall, only had one event in them that wasn't girly, which was a race. Most of the events involved baking and dressing up, with no battles whatsoever, and a show primarily about battling. And the Pokemon felt more like dolls than actual living creatures. I don't know why the writers decided to make something like this up. I would have been a lot happier if Serena had actually enjoyed Rhyhorn racing and made that her goal, because it involved her being rough and it would allow her to break out of her shell. Plus, it actually would have made her more unique like her fans claim she is. Or, hey, if the writers really wanted her to be a performer, why not just have her do contests instead of making up showcases? I thought that was poor on the writer's part. Poor indeed. And the characters I mentioned at first, who I said were my least favorites, Clover, Stella, and Rarity, all of them may have been the girliest out of their friends, but they still had more going to them for that. With, I think, the exception of Princess Peach. They were independent and knew there was a time and place to be girly and a time and place to not be. With Serena, I didn't get that vibe. Sorry, but I just didn't. I just thought she was bland and girlish. Again, not saying being girlish is a bad thing, but on this level, it certainly feels that way. Oh yeah, another reason I think it's pretty funny how the writers gave her a female Sylveon to perform with her is because, boys don't do that kind of stuff. Pancham only did it because he likes to show off, nothing more, and you know it. Reason 5, the way she interacts with other characters. I think I'll get into her interactions with Ash a little later, and talk about how she acts around other characters now. I thought Serena's interactions with people outside her group were just fine, excluding Miette, because they didn't even become rivals because they both do showcases. They became rivals because they both like Ash. Does Miette even actually like him that way, though? I thought she and Shauna had a good relationship as friends, but once again, not as rivals. Because Shauna never really beat Serena except once. Though that is more times than Dawn's beat Zoe, so... I find it a bit funny how Tierno had a crush on her and she completely ignores that, but doesn't like it when Ash does it to her. Hypocrisy. She hardly ever really talked to Trevor, and she hardly talked to Clement too, which I really didn't like. Clement was shown to do a lot for her, and actually she seemed to care about her more than Ash did. But she usually ignored his very presence, and that ticked me off a little bit. He even cooked her a meal when she won her first princess key, and I don't think she thanked him for that, so I really hated how she treated Clement in favor of Ash. Her relationship with Bonnie was fine, though. At least she was like a big sister to her. I don't really remember how her relationship with Nini was, but I think they were good friends too, but terrible rivals. Again, I don't think Nini has ever won on screen, if at all, so I feel bad for her. The only ones who felt like real rivals for Serena were Arya and Jessie. I also thought she was a bratty, rebellious little girl when talking to her mother, though, but that's how I think she acted with characters who weren't Ash. Now, onto her relationship with Ash. I know I'm probably going to trigger quite a few people, but I'm going to say this again because no amount of supposed evidence will make me think otherwise. Serena is obsessed with Ash. Whatever! Calm down. Seriously. Let me explain. I think Serena is obsessed with him for quite a few reasons. Those reasons being, 1, she didn't start her journey till she saw Ash on TV. I thought that was a little weird, how she basically planned on staying home and never starting her journey at all till she saw a boy she hardly even knows on the television. He was her reason for starting her journey, and I don't know how others don't find that a bit creepy. She was basically a stalker, and she didn't really care about Pokemon at all. She only got her starter so she could track him down, and she continued to follow him even before he asked her to join his party like a lost puppy. And she kept the handkerchief he gave her, for whatever reason. I never understood why people keep handkerchiefs. Like, what is the point of that? She was like holding onto a dirty napkin for about 5 years, and no one thought that was weird either. That's definitely something a weirdo would do, keeping used napkins from someone they liked in the past. 2, she thinks about him all the time. I'm not sure how her fans miss this, but since Ash is her goal, and she admitted to this, she has him on her mind constantly. According to the actual definition of obsessed, it means to preoccupy or fill the mind of someone continually, intrusively, and to a troubling extent. A lot of times, Serena's mind was preoccupied because she was thinking about Ash. For 47 episodes, she didn't even know what she was doing except following him around. Even when she did finally get a real goal for herself, it seemed as though her reason for doing it was just to show Ash that she was capable. When she loses confidence, she thinks, what would Ash do? Or would Ash do it this way? Like he somehow knows all the answers to her problems. He's her light at the end of the tunnel, and she clearly cares about him more than the other characters, despite him either paying her zero attention or treating her no differently than the rest of his friends. 3. I'm not sure if this can be considered a separate reason, but she's also always looking for his approval. When she did her Pokevision video, she wanted him to pay attention to her so badly, when he could honestly care less about it. When she met up with him and gave him that used napkin, she asked him if he remembered her, and he of course said no, making her disappointed for whatever reason, when they weren't even childhood friends like she thinks. When she bakes sweets, she wants him to admire her baking skills and tell her how great she is, when all he really cares about is stuffing his face with food and nothing more. When she does her showcases, she's imagining how he may be reacting to her in the audience. When she's separated from him for even a second, she can be in more danger than he is, but she'd still be worrying about him even though he's perfectly fine. She hated Rhyhorn racing, but since Ash thought it was cool, her whole demeanor changed about it, and she tried to impress him by teaching him and the others how to ride one. It's also apparently the reason she's so good at showcases, since I guess he gave her the out-of-the-blue confidence to do better. Like, seriously, when the episode isn't focused on her, she's pretty much a background character with little confidence. But when a showcase episode comes up, she does a 180 and becomes extremely confident. Lastly, I haven't watched the final episode of XYZ, but a friend of mine told me, and I also read it on Bulbapedia, that Serena's last words to Ash were, "I'll get better for you," or "I will become a much more attractive woman to you." And this is extremely creepy, considering she's technically 10 years old. I don't know why the writers thought having her say something like this to him would be a good idea. Then again, I'm not surprised. And the fact that she was still thinking of him and only him, even in her final moments, makes me cringe and realize I was right in saying he's always on her mind. Another creepy factor I'd like to point out about her obsession is that she wore Ash's clothes when she really didn't need to. In that episode, she could have told the boy who wanted to battle him that he was sick and to come back later. Or maybe have Clement dress up as Ash instead, since they're both boys and it makes more sense that way. As a side note, I have no idea how Ash's clothes fit perfectly on her when they clearly aren't the same size. But overall, I found that episode really weird. She just really didn't need to wear his clothing. She didn't need to pretend to be him. I mean, why couldn't she just act like herself and battle in his place that way? Putting on his clothes was unnecessary on so many levels, and she even copied his battling style, showing she was paying him too close attention. I also think Serena is sickeningly sweet to Ash, even if he does something wrong. We as the audience start to notice the difference Serena has compared to the female traveling companions before her. The difference being that she doesn't argue with him. This does not a good relationship make. That's the problem here. Serena is too nice to him, even when he should be told to tone it down a notch. She's never even gotten into a friendly quarrel with him, because she agrees with everything he does and just blindly follows his judgment, whether he's wrong or not. She doesn't think he can do anything bad. She thinks everything he does is right, which is why they never argue. But that's not good in any kind of relationship, whether it be just friends or a couple. If two people agree on everything, then they do not have a strong bond. And Serena's fans love to say that she had the best relationship with Ash out of all his friends, but really their relationship was extremely distant. She's too formal around him and too nice. His other friends knew when to keep him in check. Serena doesn't do that. Serena and Ash aren't on equal ground with each other. Serena admires the ground Ash walks on and doesn't think anything he does is wrong, and that isn't healthy. Sure, she can like his confident and strong sides, but if she doesn't get to know his other sides, then they're not going to have a strong relationship. Which brings me to episode 121 of XYZ, the episode titled Seeing the Forest for the Trees. Ash and Serena have their first and last argument in the entire series. This is another episode where her fans say she developed because she finally stood up to Ash and disagreed with him, and I could get behind this idea if the reasons they were arguing weren't so petty and one-sided. Since beginning her journey with him, Serena has come to only know one version of Ash. This version of Ash is the kind that never gets angry, never gives up, is always confident, is always smiling, and is always strong. She's never seen Ash's weak points, therefore she clearly didn't know how to react when he did finally get upset. Ash ran out into a snowstorm feeling a bit depressed. You can tell he doesn't feel like talking or seeing anybody, since he didn't even take Pikachu with him. Serena thinks it's her job to go out and comfort him, so she sets out into the storm to find and talk to him. When she finds him, she tells him how great he is for helping her make it this far. Ash, clearly annoyed, yells at her and wants to be alone. Serena, who's never seen this side of him, yells back and says, "You're not acting like the Ash I know." I don't know if you figured out what's wrong with her saying that to him, but I figured it out. The problem here is that, as I already mentioned, Serena has formed a fake image of Ash's character in her mind, and she expects him to always act that way. She, as I said in my Serena character analysis, expects him to always be confident, always be independent, always be a strong leader, 24/7, 365 days. She got mad and yelled at him simply because her image of him changed. He was angry and wanted to be alone. The description for this episode claims that Serena gave him advice when all she really did was yell and throw snowballs at him because he wasn't acting like the Ash she had gotten used to during her travels. Me, personally, I thought that was very selfish and manipulative of her. She wants Ash to act the way she thinks he should act. She doesn't want him to ever be angry or sad or depressed. She wants him to be the same person that she's gotten used to, a strong, confident leader who never shows fear or anger. And I don't think it's fair of her to expect him to always act that way when people really do not act that way. People aren't going to be happy all the time, aren't going to be confident all the time. People get angry, people get sad, people get depressed, and it is really not fair of Serena to think that Ash isn't allowed to be upset and that he's always supposed to be the way she envisioned him in her mind. If Serena can't accept the fact that Ash has off days too, then she's clearly not willing to make a relationship with him work out. And I just love the fact that towards the end of the episode, they made it seem like Ash was in the wrong, and that's what Serena did to him was right when it clearly wasn't. If she only wants the version of Ash that she admires so much, then she doesn't deserve to have any versions of him at all. Couples and friends don't always agree, and if you really care about each other, then you'll be able to look past the fact that people have bad days just like they have good days. If Serena can't see that, then she's not a real friend. If she's not obsessed with him, then I honestly don't even know what the word obsessed means anymore. I also think this person I know made some fairly good points claiming that Serena might be a yandere. It seems to heavily apply to her character, so it makes perfect sense, even in a kid's show like this one. Reason 6. Her fans. Now, normally I'd feel bad about the fact that I let a fandom ruin how I feel about certain things, but Serena's fans are awful. Extremely awful. Pokemon fans haven't been this obnoxious and crazy since Misty's departure. I've run into a lot of bad seeds here, and I only met like a handful of nice Serena fans, but I've run into about 6 assholes who think they control how I feel about her. A lot of times they'll make up lies about her character to try and make it seem like she's better than she actually is. I haven't played the XY games myself, but I was told by 4 different sources that there are no showcases in the video games. Bulbapedia even stated in the first sentence about them that they're anime exclusive. But one Serena fan Amor shipper I've run into told me that showcases were in the games. So he straight up lied to me to make Serena seem better than she actually is. He also seems pained by the fact that I like Iris more than her. I run into another one who's pretty notorious around these parts for being an insane Serena lover. He created a post explaining how I, and about 6 other people, shamed him for liking Amor shipping, when none of us did that. We simply disagreed with one little thing, and he flipped goddamn tables over it. He even threatened people, and said to rape any character who wasn't anime Serena. So he was a sicko in every regard. I blocked him because he was batshit insane. He even tried to make himself out to be the victim when he started the problem. I met another Serena worshipper on YouTube by the name of Scarp Brimson, who just started cussing up a storm because I said I liked Iris more than Serena or Misty. He also cussed out other people if they didn't agree with every single word he said. I blocked him and reported him. There was another Amor shipper who wasn't mean to me, but their reasons for liking Serena were completely shallow. They told me they only liked her because of her crush, and they wished the writers never brought showcases into the picture because they wanted her to continue having nothing to do in the show but be infatuated with Ash. There was yet another Serena fan I met who still wasn't mean to me at all, but they admitted their reasons for liking her were only because of Amor shipping. So, yeah, I know there are nice fans out there to go with the mean ones, but I just hardly ever meet them. Serena's fans aren't even a major reason for me not liking her, seeing as how reasons 1 through 5 explain why I dislike her, even without mentioning the influence of her fans. I hope you all realize that if you try to force someone to like what you like or hate what you hate, then you're losing a potential friend and you're doing the opposite of your intention. Bad seeds can really put people off. I know I wasn't interested in Undertale. Even before the game became popular and ran over the internet, I was never interested in it, and the fans of it didn't help me get interested in it. And most of the fandoms I'm in are terrible, and I know exactly why people stay away from them. Because they get put off from the insanity, and I can't blame them. FNAF, MLP, Sonic, Steven Universe. If the vocal majority of fans are horrible, then it pushes people away. That's just how it is sometimes, and I no longer feel bad about admitting this. Of course, I'm not saying anyone has to think this way. Just because crazy fans usually push me away from certain things doesn't mean it'll do the same to you. We all think differently after all. But I will certainly try not to let horrible people ruin my fun. It just gets a bit difficult sometimes. Anyway, I think I'm done here. After this, I'm not going one-on-one with Serena's character anymore. And this should be enough for people to understand how I feel about this particular character. But seriously, if this wasn't enough, then I can't make you understand. You just won't, I guess. As I said before, I have no problem with people liking her at all, as we all have different tastes, and I will not try to change anyone's opinions, so please do not try to change mine. I hope you all have a wonderful day. Peace out. Oh, one more thing. I guess it's just to get on some Serena fans' good sides. I still think Serena is the prettiest girl Ash has traveled with. My reasons being because of the clear animation and art change. I thought Misty was the least pretty, not because she's my least favorite, but because I didn't really like the art style or animation of the original series, making Misty look kind of bland to me. The art and animation was pretty similar to the original and advanced generation, so May didn't look that different compared to Misty, but I think they improved a little, so May was a bit prettier. Her eyes were just extremely far apart, like a key anime or something. Diamond and Pearl is where the animation takes a completely new direction for me. It didn't look like the previous two series, so Dawn gets the award for third prettiest in my eyes. The art animation was great in black and white, so I thought Iris was really pretty, even prettier, or at least cuter than Dawn. And XYZ is where the animators really shined. Serena is really freaking pretty, but with the new Sun and Moon anime, it looks like the animators went backwards, so I still think Serena is prettier than Mallow, Lily, and Lana. Yes, a lot of people think all these girls look exactly the same, but I noticed there are differences in faces and body types after my Pokemon marathon. Did I pay too much attention to these small details? Probably, but just 'cause I think Serena is the prettiest doesn't mean I have to like the rest of her. You could be the best looking person in the world, but still have the personality of a brick.
誰にも負けない力がここにないならイマジンなんて壊してしま